name is Ben Stobber. I'm an actor, producer, filmmaker, creator of the Helping Hands Productions and also the Lucky Sevens Film Challenge, available online. It's an incredible honor to be a part of Keith Andrews Network show too as well, and being able to just reach out and share to artists, filmmakers, passionate creative artists everywhere to just never stop doing what you love.
I'm Sonja Ann Jones, and I'm an actress, producer, a host, and I also am an advocate for women. I have the organization Nonstop for the Top. I'm the CEO that's dedicated towards women, and I'm really grateful to have Keith have me on his show for the second time. I love the Keith Andrew Network, and thanks a lot, Keith, for including me. And it's so great to catch up after 8 years, and it was great to also meet you, Ben, so thanks so much.
Now, before I do the first question, for everyone who wants to watch or newcomers who are watching the Keith Andrew Network, for people who want to know what is the Keith Andrew Network, whole point of and Sonja, you know this because I changed my catchphrase over the years. Thank God for that, because I sound like an idiot. But this one sounds so much better. Now, the whole point of my talk show is to show people that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities to never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. Prove them you can stem out to something. With hashtag break the labels. When Sonja was on my show before, my catchphrase was turning myself into an example for people who are deaf, blind, and are in a wheelchair. Then my brother had to correct me and say, first off, you sound like an idiot. Second, what do you mean? You're not deaf, you're not blind, and you're sure as hell not in a wheelchair. So how are you an example for that? So thanks him putting a spin on it. I wish I happened in the very beginning instead of 300 episodes later. I came up with a new catchphrase. This one sounds so much better than the first one. Every time I hear the first catchphrase, I kind of cleanse. I'm like, yeah, he was right. This sounds really, because I'm not an example for people who are deaf, blind, or in a wheelchair. If I was, that would be a different situation. But whatever, 8 years, you're gonna grow, learn from your mistakes, or misforms, a lot of mistakes. But whatever, this is not about me. But Ben, this is the very first time, and yes, I do make people drink. I was told that too.
Stay hydrated. Oh, yes. Always.
So this is your very first time being on the show. So the first question I want to ask you is tell our audience a little bit about your background and how you came to do what you do now.
Absolutely. So my name is Ben Stobber. I corrected that on the screen now. I am an actor, producer, filmmaker, currently located in Las Vegas. I was born and raised in Hudson, Wisconsin. Grew up in Colorado, so I became addicted to cheese from Wisconsin, became a mountain goat because of Colorado, so I've got those two to thank, still hooked on both. I always knew I wanted to act ever since I was 4 or 5 years old, doing talent shows, performances in elementary school, through middle school the same, and high school I started working like 2 jobs at once, a video store and a movie theater, Hollywood Video. Blockbuster came later. And the local movie theater while going to high school, doing high school theater, community theater as well, quite a bit of Shakespeare. So I really had no social life. So I had to kind of sacrifice something. So I chose acting, I chose school and work that tied it into watching movies, renting movies, taking my parents to the movie theaters, and dreaming of one day being able to work in a movie, being up on the silver screen. And my sister, Sarah Stobber, who was living in Vegas at the time for a few years, I graduated high school, went to college at USC. It was called USC in Pueblo, Colorado at the time. It's now CU Pueblo, I think. Had invited me to move out to Vegas for at least a year, give it a try. I was thinking and planning on going to California first, but she's like, try Vegas out, see what you think, and then Cali is not too far away. So a year turned into 16 plus years instead. So I moved to Vegas and got a couple jobs, Blockbuster Video, Circuit City, just to get some work. But then my first real big exciting job as an actor was Star Trek: The Experience, which was at the Las Vegas Hilton. Not being a huge Trekkie, but I totally became one after working there for a few years. Got to wear the whole spandex outfit, be a Starfleet officer, got paid to be an actor. It was an incredible, wonderful dream. And then from there, got to work as a character actor for Madame Tussauds Wax Museum for the Halloween Horror Haunts at the Venetian. I ushered for Phantom of the Opera, Blue Man Group. I got to be a paper performer. I wasn't a blue man. I was not so good with the drums. The acoustics skills not so good. But it was so cool. We still got to go. A few of us got to go up each night up on the stage and take a bow with the Blue Man in the band. It was just that was my first taste of actually up on the Las Vegas stage and taking a bow and just being part of something big. Blue Man Group was such a fun, visual, visceral experience that they actually were at the Venetian at first. They're now at the Luxor Hotel. From there, the biggest thing that I had some difficulty and trouble with as an actor was, for the most part, or excuse me, I was extremely introverted. I was not really comfortable speaking to other people. I would usually, whenever at parties, I would be in a corner or in a place waiting for people to talk to me first. I just was not comfortable with that. And a huge important faction for artists, actors, filmmakers, business people to be successful is networking, being able to comfortably socialize and network and to be able to promote yourself as a product. You're a salesman. That always came to me too, even just being a kid. I always loved being a salesman too. Just sell golf balls as a kid that I would find near a golf course and sell them for like a quarter each or $3 for $1. I don't know where the logic came in that, but some guys would actually buy 3 for $1 anyway, just to be nice. But going back to, so extremely introverted until about a decade ago. So I became a concierge for the Aria Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. And during that time, for about 7 years, that was the job that I needed, that gave me the ability, for the requirements of being a concierge, to network, to be able to meet other concierges, to network with businesses, to know all the ins and outs of Vegas, because we are interacting with guests comfortably, we are selling products, we are building relationships, we're getting to know them and promoting items that fit their needs and wants while being comfortable, well spoken, without using uhs and slangs and pausing a lot. So a lot of people are always like, wow, you're so clear in how you talk, and you don't use a lot of slang or weird, just beats and things. That took years of practice being a concierge. I kid you not, Keith. And it was just, it was that constant repetition and practice over the years in that position, because it wasn't something I got the first year. It took years. And then just being comfortable, being able to also, at networking events, not talk about myself, but to talk about products, talk about the community, information, knowledge, things that I knew, but also making it about the other person too as well. Getting to know them first before they started asking questions about me. Another great important facet I found too as well for filmmakers, for artists, actors. It's so easy for it to be very much a me world, when it needs to be more about we, and really making it about that other person. Because then they're going to find out, wow, this isn't like other actors, specifically targeting actors that I've spoken and interacted with. But I think the biggest accomplishment I felt was being a concierge. I did a local community theater production of Evil Dead, the musical. Loved the films. I auditioned for it. I didn't have faith and confidence that I could take on the lead role of Ash, played by Bruce Campbell. So instead, I auditioned for the supporting role. There was a lot of language that I wasn't entirely comfortable with, so I was censoring it in the audition. The director's like, this has a lot of swearing. Are you comfortable with that? I'm like, not really. It's like, okay, so the supporting part I read for, he's like, let me have you read for the lead instead. I'm like, okay, give it a shot. So I prepared, I auditioned, I got a call back, and gave it my all, and I was the last person to be called. I got the lead role in the Evil Dead musical. We performed for 2 months off strip, and the show was just doing so well. It was selling out each 4 weeks of performance. So as a concierge and a salesperson, I talked to the director and producer, and it's like, I feel like this show has some legs on the Strip. We can find a home on the Strip. So I started setting up meetings, making calls along various locations on the Strip, the Tropicana Hotel, Planet Hollywood, Stratosphere, downtown, various locations, because this has a blood splatter zone. So we spray fake blood on the audience. So it's like, can't do this at the Bellagio. I mean, they've got the fountains, in the front, but like, no, their theaters are too nice, too beautiful. We can't do that there. But I really wanted Planet Hollywood because movie theme type hotel would be perfect. It's center of the Strip. They didn't really have anything for us. So originally going to go downtown, Fremont Street, but the day before we were supposed to sign the contract for the plaza, we got a call from Planet Hollywood. And an opening came up Fridays and Saturday nights for our show at the David Sachs Theater. So we took it and expanded. It grew from there over the years. And I was in the show for, about 3 years. That yearning and feeling for film. I really wanted to get into film performance instead. So I parted ways. I transitioned 6 years ago into film and got my first short film, Hush, that swept the award circuits. It was a college student film I found on Facebook. So for any actors out there too as well, they're looking at growing the credits experience, make sure that you're joining those Facebook groups. For me, for example, it was Las Vegas Actors, Las Vegas Gigs, Las Vegas Film Jobs, everything I could find, and look through those auditions, and vegasauditions.com, going to the 48-hour film projects, another great way and place to network, to meet local independent filmmakers, and try to get on a team, and then watch all of the films, and I would take notes of which film I really connected to. I really loved the look, the style, the feel. I would write down that production company, that director, and I would keep that in my book so in the future I would be able to reference that and make a personal connection with them. I really loved and connected their titled film for personal reasons, whatever that was.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we're going to take a quick muscle break, and with the remaining time, I'm going to pass it over to Sonja.
I'm Penny Fine.
Hi, it's Mimi Chen.
Hi, my name is Ellen George.
I'm Shauna Toth.
Hey guys, I'm Anastasia Edwards.
Hi, this is Jackie Nunez.
Hi, I'm Millie Rose Bear.
Hey guys, I'm Alexandria Denise, and you're watching Keith Andrew's show. He's doing a terrific job. Make sure you like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more awesomeness.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 795. That's right, 795. The following, it's brought to you by H.B. Gibson, the host and creator of the X Zone. If you're into fitness, you have to be Life of a Fighter. It's also a good friend of mine, Mike. He's the creator of Life of a Fighter. Now, with that being said, Sonja, I'm going to pass the show over to you. Same exact question. But I want to ask you in a different way because you've been on our show multiple times. This is your second time on here, so you're kind of like a veteran. So same exact question, for people who remember the first one, they can actually rewatch the first episode. First episode was season 1. I think it was episode 13. And you can see how the video quality changed, all that. Thank God for that. Don't record from the phone anymore. So you are a CEO. I'd love to talk to you about that. So same question, but also, what can you tell us about being a CEO?
Yeah, sure. So, well, same question. Just I do multiple things. I'm multi-talented. So just like Ben mentioned, right? When I was a little kid, I wanted to get into acting. Since I was 12, I was inspired by Rick Springfield, which is hilarious. He was on General Hospital, and I'm like, someday I'm going to be on that show. And I wrote in a notebook that I was going to be on the show, and I was going to be living in a house on the hill in California and be associated to a record deal and the whole thing. All of it came true. So never give up on your dreams, just like Keith has said, right? So I moved I'm Midwestern too, Ben. I'm from Minnesota. And I moved all the way from Minnesota to LA, and I've been here now for 17 years. And I've been pursuing acting and producing as well. And then in addition to that, going to your question, Keith, I established an organization called Nonstop for the Top. And what it is it's focused on helping women get to the next level in business, technology, and in entertainment. So I originally started it because of women in tech. I have another whole side of me where I have a BS in mathematics and statistics and an MBA and a doctorate in business, and have worked in the corporate America world for quite a while in the computer information world. So I've done big data and business intelligence and all of that. So I've seen the struggles that women have on a daily basis of not being supported, not only at leadership levels or management levels. And then also just within tech to not only get the same pay, same promotions, those kinds of things, even though they're equally qualified. So that's why I started Nonstop for the Top. And I started another initiative I was a co-founder of a national sorority that was based in Minnesota that now has 14 chapters worldwide called Alpha Sigma Kappa Women in Technical Studies, focused on that same thing. And then in addition to that, my dissertation was focused on that for women in technology. And I was also Mrs. Corporate America in 2009, where I did the same thing. And I think I brought that up on the last show. So Headset's a little bit about me and why I started the organization, because I want to help people. And I think it starts a lot in the media as well. So I'm leveraging kind of the different dynamics, since I have the acting world and the producing world behind me, to leverage that into Nonstop for the Top as well. So.
No, absolutely. If it's possible, I would love to work with you on a couple ideas. But I want to ask you, because this show is mostly about disabilities, and I'm going to change the screen back so it's on you. And the reason I do that is when you talk, we can play our past episode in the background. When you have it in free box, like I just had it, I don't know if that's going to cut anyone off, so I don't want to cut anyone off. But go back to the first thing you said about helping women. That's just sound like an oxymoron on my part. But have you worked, and this is the same question for both of you, have you worked with people with disabilities, and besides me, obviously, and for the company that you worked with, you said you help women in the business world, the entertainment world. Have there been opportunities or coincidences where occasionally, the word I'm looking for, where you actually worked with women with disabilities?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's happened quite often, actually. I think it's really important that everyone, like you said, Keith, which is the main reason for your show, which I think is amazing, right? That you are helping people out there to achieve their dreams. And no matter what you've been given, you're you, right? You have to center you and make yourself visible, because if you want that dream to happen, you can do it. It's just a lot of hard work and getting the right opportunities and having support along the way, and people that can help you with opportunities that, are cognizant of around that. Because to me, I never see race, I never see color, I never see disability. I just see a person, right? And each person has a unique attribute or personality to them that can really add a difference to the world, right? And leave a legacy. And I think it's really important to support those efforts, right? And help them and give them a hand up, right? So that they can achieve those dreams.
No, I agree with you 100%. Now, I'll do something special. It's 9 minutes left. I'm going to pass it over to you guys. You can ask each other questions. It's about interacting, networking. But there's a couple things I want to talk to you about. Pop culture. Now, what is your opinions? And you, like I said, PG-13, but it is uncensored. You do have the right to say what you want and how you feel. With that being said, the top 3 things I want to talk to you about is, how do you feel about what they're doing with Looney Tunes? They're saying no more skunk because it caters kids to be rapists, but it's like, it's Looney Tunes. It's not telling you to go out and rape people. It's a cartoon character. He's Friends. He loves the ladies. That's what how French people, acted back in the day. But now they're saying we don't want the skunk to be around our kids and it be in the movie. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the subject about them removing the skunk from Looney Tunes permanently.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, again, it comes down to the censorship. It is art. Think of it almost like a painting. When you have when you look at portraits from hundreds of years ago that have women that are nude or that are topless, where it is granted, it is art, it is an expression, though again, it is choice. for all of us to choose to look at that art, or to kind of be mindful that, okay, we know that these artists, this is their way of expression. We need to be mindful of that either for ourselves. If we don't respect it, then we're not going to continue looking at it anymore. If we have children, we need to make sure, again, to kind of steer them towards art that is more fitting of our values as parents. But I completely agree. I mean, as a kid, I grew up watching those cartoons, and I would never think of it like that. And it's so weird, even like Pepe Le Pew, until somebody said that, until it's coming up recently. I never thought about that. Just like the Dr. Seuss books, Dumbo, with the crows as well. I never thought of any of these things. However, it's the weirdest thing where, and I'm sure it's going to come up, where Family Guy series, there's that child molester that keeps trying to kind of rape the young boy, Chris, from the Family Guy. That it's always, it pushes the envelope as a cartoon series that it's an interesting sense of humor, Seth MacFarlane. He has some, again, he has a creative imagination, very unique sense of comedy and humor that I guess is personally not my cup of tea. I love The Simpsons. Simpsons, honestly, that kind of explores everything too. And even had an episode featuring censorship with Marge Simpson and the Itchy and Scratchy Show, because it was leading her kids into finding violence entertaining and funny. And she went to the board, they censored it, but then they censored everything, and the entire world became ultra censored, which is totally reminding me of what's going on even right now. And it's just like, The Simpsons always would hit it on the nail of just the future of what we are turning into. We're going to have to just burn books and burn films, and have captions at the beginning of every show and series that is going to be too sensitive a subject.
Well, people need to loosen, the blank up, number one, grow a backbone. And you can't take things too personally. There's a comedian who is disabled, but he makes disabled jokes. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like he's saying that's not okay. And so it's not the pot calling the kettle black. But you get to certain situations and certain things where you can't do this, but you can do that. That's weird, but because you're telling me I can't do this, and you're telling me to do that, but it's even worse than what I was doing the first time. So you can't fix stupid, number one. And I think the whole censor this, censor that, they're getting too censor happy. It's really getting out of hand. And look at what...
Yeah, I was going to say, I agree with Ben on that. I mean, it's a piece of art, right? So either you choose to watch it or not. And sometimes it might not even be with your views, but it's actually bringing light to that issue, right? And just because I'm an actor and an actress, like Ben is an actor and I'm an actress, when we're giving a part, that doesn't mean that character, we believe what that character is actually doing, right? We're portraying a character. And so to me, sometimes I get like feedback on some of my acting, and I'm like thinking, well, thank you. I'm making you feel something, and that's my job at the end of the day, right? But the art is not the character that I necessarily signed up for. It's just that I happen to get cast as that character. And I, as an actor, I have to do my best job to try to relay that material that the writer is trying to translate to, right? And you either take that acting piece of work and you glean something from it, and you see something from it, or you just choose not to watch it. But
Sonja, you totally hit the nail on the button too for actors with that. It's like, if you judge the character and their motivations and things, you're not going to be the right fit for that part, because you're already not giving them the strongest, best chance at a voice that you can be. You need to justify the actions and feel when you read it that what they're doing, however intense, violent, or wrong that it is, you have to justify those actions as true, as accurate, as that was the right thing to do, and believe in it in order to really give them the best chance.
Otherwise, you won't buy it, right? I mean, as an audience member, you're going to sit there and say, oh, that actor's awful. You're not going to buy the story, right? You have to actually embody what that character is, whether you're for that character or not. And then it gets to the point, well, some of these Oscar winner, for instance,
Anthony Hopkins, Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs, right? And he's a serial killer, right? I mean, are you going to support that as an actor? I mean, he was amazing in that film.
Because he justified his thoughts that he just needed, that eating people was healthy, that it was acceptable. We know as an audience that it's not. But he justified it and sold it, and we believed in his thought process, his actions, his convictions. Absolutely.
So whenever anyone gives me a hard time about that, because that happened recently on a clip I did, I just sit there, thank you, because I know that I've done a good job if I've made you feel something.
Exactly. You made them feel something, and that's the biggest part too as well. You moved them. You were able, and I got to ask Sonja this too, because I'm still having some trouble sometimes with this. When it comes to watching your own work, how are you at critiquing your own performances when you are working in film, and then you go to a premiere and you watch it? Because the earliest times when I did that, that was hard. It was hard being able to step out and watch it. It's like, ooh, I could tone it down a little bit. I was coming from a theater background and then film. I need to bring the levels down. But then it gets better over time, I feel, the more you watch.
Yeah, that's true. It's really hard at the beginning because you just feel like, oh my gosh, what did I just, like I could have done that better or whatever. It's just like any piece of art, right? You always think you can do better than what you did.
Absolutely.
But you get used to it after a while when you really get into it, like you're really into your performance. Like you're like, I want to get better. So it's those nuances, because I think when it comes to acting, it's specificity. And the more specific that you can be around the role, the character, the nuances that the character has is what really sells it, right? So
exactly.
If you don't watch yourself, you're going to miss all that. So you have to like see performances and reiterate it. And I've learned through COVID, because everything's on tape now with Zoom and stuff. I watch my stuff all the time when I'm doing acting classes and table reads. And
excellent. And that's fantastic too, even as artists to later become directors, to become producers, like Mel Gibson, Clint Eastwood, a number of actors who started in acting, but then eventually would grow to become producers and directors, to be able to see themselves, to be able to handle both reins, to be able to critique your performance, make sure it's at the strongest, best level, and also in a way kind of guide and direct the story along, and just and find other ways of helping tell the stories. I mean, it's nothing wrong with staying in the one lane, if it is acting, directing, writing. But I mean, do you also find it fascinating exploring other facets, areas of filmmaking?
Oh, I love it. I'll do anything on set because I'm so excited about it. Every time I'm on set, it's just like so exciting. I just helped a friend with a movie called Monster in Your Head, and I actually wasn't acting in it, but I did a lot of set stuff, set supervising, script supervising. I also did helped a little bit with directing, and it was really fun to actually see the whole process, right? From the opposite side of the camera. And then actually have it aired. We did it at a drive-in theater here in the summertime to actually show it. It was a really good movie. It was really fun. It was really fun to be a part of. So, and I cast.
So, wait, now we're actually over our limit, but I do have a couple questions for you guys off the air. But wrapping up our talk show, it's a real honor and privilege having you guys back on. I'm looking forward to part 2 down the road. Make sure to add to your calendars June 10th. I will get the date. But on June 10th, that's my 8-year anniversary. I was thinking about doing a show on that day. But if you like to do a shout out, that will be great for everyone out there. If anyone remember, June 10th, make sure to email the KeithAndrewNetWork, say congratulations on 8 years. But the following is brought to you by HB Gibson and Wife of a Fighter. Make sure to like and subscribe to the KeithAndrewNetWork on YouTube and Facebook. And this was today's episode. It was an honor and privilege. Thank you, and have a good night.